Michael Chen sat in his small piano studio and watched the clock on the wall. It was Tuesday afternoon and his student was supposed to arrive at 3 o'clock. The clock showed 3:15, then 3:30. By 4 o'clock, Michael knew the truth. Another student had quit. He picked up his phone and saw the text message from the student's mother. It was polite but clear. They were switching to a different teacher. Someone more modern, someone who made lessons fun. Michael put his phone down and looked around his studio. The room was small and plain. There was one old piano, a few chairs, and music books stacked on shelves. The paint on the walls was starting to peel. A water stain marked the ceiling in one corner. Michael was 48 years old. His hair was starting to turn gray at the sides. He wore glasses that were a bit crooked because he never got them fixed properly. His clothes were clean but old. Everything about him looked tired. And he was tired. So very tired. 3 years ago, his wife Linda had left him. She said she could not live with someone who was married to his work more than to her. She said he cared more about perfect piano playing than about being happy. She took most of their savings and moved to another city. She left him with their daughter Emma, who was 4 years old at the time. Michael did his best to raise Emma alone. He worked hard to keep his studio running. He paid the rent every month. He made sure Emma had food and clothes. He walked her to school every morning and picked her up every afternoon. But money was always tight. Every month was a struggle. And now he was losing students. Emma was 7 years old now. She was a small girl with long black hair that Michael tried to brush every morning. Though he was not very good at it, she had her mother's dark eyes and quiet way of moving. She was a good child. She never complained. She did her homework without being told. She kept her room clean. Sometimes Michael wished she would be louder, more playful, more like other children. But mostly he was grateful she was easy to care for. That evening, Michael made dinner for them both. It was rice and vegetables with a little bit of chicken. They ate at the small table in their apartment kitchen. The apartment was not big. There was one bedroom for Emma, and Michael slept on the couch in the living room. The piano studio was in a different building down the street. Emma ate her dinner quietly. She had a spelling test tomorrow and she was studying her words. Michael watched her and thought about their situation. He needed something to change. He needed to show people that his teaching methods worked. He needed proof that traditional, disciplined piano training was still valuable. Then an idea came to him. The community center was holding a talent show in 6 weeks. Local children would perform for their families and neighbors. It was a big event. Many people would come. If Emma could perform something impressive, something that showed real skill, then people would see what his teaching could do. New students would come. His reputation would improve. Michael put down his fork. He looked at his daughter. "Emma," he said, "I want you to play piano at the community talent show." Emma looked up from her spelling words. Her eyes went wide. "The talent show?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Michael said. "You will perform a piece that will show everyone what proper training can achieve." Emma bit her lip. She looked like she wanted to say something, but she stayed quiet. "I will teach you a very special piece," Michael continued. "It is difficult, but if you work hard, you can learn it. It will be good for you." "Good for both of us," Emma nodded slowly. She did not smile. But she did not argue either. The next day after school, Michael brought Emma to his studio. He had selected the piece carefully. It was Chopin's Revolutionary Etude. The piece was fast, powerful, and very difficult. Most adult pianists found it challenging. For a 7-year-old child to learn it would be remarkable. It would be proof of excellent teaching. Michael sat Emma down at the piano. He opened the sheet music in front of her. "This is what you will learn," he said. Emma looked at the music. Her small fingers touched the pages gently. She studied the notes for a long moment. "Papa," she said softly. "I can play this." Michael shook his head. He thought she did not understand how hard it was. "No, Emma. This is a very advanced piece. You do not understand yet, but I will teach you. We will work on it every day. You will practice for 3 hours after school. In 6 weeks you will be ready." Emma opened her mouth to speak again, but Michael held up his hand. "I know it seems impossible now," he said, "but trust me. I am your teacher. I know what you can achieve with proper discipline and practice." Emma closed her mouth. She looked at the piano keys. Her expression was sad, but Michael did not notice. He was already thinking about the practice schedule he would create. For the next week, Emma came to the studio every day after school. Michael had her practice scales and finger exercises for the first hour. Then they worked on small sections of the Chopin piece. Michael was a strict teacher. When Emma made a mistake, he stopped her immediately. "No, no, no," he would say. "That note is too sharp. Your finger position is wrong. Start again from the beginning." Emma would nod and start over. She tried to do exactly what her father said. But sometimes Michael noticed that she seemed to be playing more slowly than she needed to. She seemed to be making mistakes on purpose. This frustrated him greatly. "Emma, you are not concentrating," he would say. "If you do not focus, you will never learn this piece. Do you want to embarrass yourself in front of everyone?" Emma would shake her head and try again. Michael did not know that Emma was indeed holding back. She was playing far below her actual ability, but she had her reasons. Reasons she could not explain to her father. By the end of the first week, Michael was worried. Emma was learning the piece, but very slowly. Too slowly. At this rate, she would not be ready for the talent show. He decided to increase her practice time to 3.5 hours per day. Emma said nothing when he told her the new schedule. She just nodded and continued practicing. At home in the evenings, Emma did her homework at the kitchen table. She was always tired now. Sometimes she fell asleep with her head on her books. Michael would wake her gently and send her to bed. He felt a small amount of guilt about pushing her so hard, but he told himself it was necessary. Discipline was how children learned to achieve great things. What Michael did not know was that Emma had a secret. A big secret she had kept for 3 years. When Emma was 4 years old, just after her mother left, she found an old tablet computer and a box of things her mother had left behind. Late at night, when Michael was asleep on the couch, Emma would take the tablet into her room and close the door very quietly. She would put on headphones and watch videos on the internet. The videos were of people playing piano, great pianists from around the world. Emma would watch their fingers on the keys. She would watch how they sat, how they moved, how they made the music come alive. Then she would imagine herself playing the same way. During the day, when Michael was teaching other students, Emma would sometimes sneak into the studio. She would lock the door and sit at the piano. She would play the pieces she had learned from the videos. She taught herself to read music by studying the sheet music in her father's books. She learned by watching and listening and trying over and over until she got it right. By the time she was 5, Emma could play simple Mozart pieces. By 6, she was playing Beethoven sonatas. Now, at 7, she could play some of the most difficult pieces ever written. She had taught herself Rachmaninoff, Liszt, and yes, Chopin. She had already learned the Revolutionary Etude months ago from a video. She could play it perfectly, but she never showed her father. She never told him what she could do. The reason was complicated, even in Emma's own young mind. Part of it was that piano was her special thing. It was the one part of her life that belonged only to her. When she played alone, she felt free. She felt happy. She could express feelings she did not have words for. But there was another reason, too. When her father taught her piano, he was always criticizing, always correcting, always telling her she was doing it wrong. It made piano feel like work, like punishment. Emma had learned that if her father thought she was struggling to learn, his criticism was easier to accept. If he knew how easily things came to her, she was afraid his expectations would become impossible. She was afraid nothing she did would ever be good enough, so Emma hid her gift. She pretended to be an ordinary student who was learning slowly, and she suffered through her father's frustrated teaching. By the second week of practice, Michael was becoming more stressed. Emma was improving, but not fast enough. He raised his voice more often. He made her repeat sections 20 or 30 times. He stopped being patient when she made mistakes. "How can you still not have this part memorized?" he would ask. "I have shown you 10 times. Are you even trying?" Emma would look down at her hands. She would nod. She would say she was sorry. Then she would play it again, still making small mistakes on purpose. Michael started to feel desperate. His reputation depended on Emma's performance. He needed her to be brilliant. He needed people to see what he could teach a child to do. One evening, 2 weeks into the practice schedule, Michael made an announcement at dinner. "Emma," he said, "your birthday is coming up in 4 weeks. You will be 8 years old." Emma nodded. She had almost forgotten about her birthday. "I was planning to have a small party for you," Michael continued. "We would invite a few children from your school. I would buy a cake, but now I'm not sure." Emma looked up at him with worried eyes. "If you cannot learn this piece properly, "There is no point in celebrating," Michael said. His voice was hard. "If you fail at the talent show, if you embarrass us both, then there will be no party. Do you understand?" Emma felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She nodded. "I understand, Papa," she whispered. Michael felt a moment of doubt when he saw her sad face, but he pushed the feeling away. He was doing this for her own good. Children needed consequences. They needed motivation. This was how his own father had taught him, and he had turned out fine. That night, Emma lay in her bed and cried very quietly into her pillow. She did not want her father to hear. She thought about just playing the piece perfectly to make him happy. But something stopped her. Some part of her knew that once she showed him what she could really do, everything would change, and she was not ready for that change. Through the thin walls of their apartment, their neighbor could hear the sound of crying. His name was Mr. Patterson. He was an old man who lived alone. He was 73 years old with white hair and kind eyes. He always smiled at Emma when he saw her in the hallway. What neither Michael nor Emma knew was that Mr. Patterson had been a concert pianist in his younger years. He had performed in great halls around the world. Now he was retired, living quietly, but he still had his piano. And he still loved music more than almost anything. Mr. Patterson had been hearing Emma practice through the walls for 2 weeks now. He had heard Michael's harsh voice. He had heard the same sections played over and over. And tonight he heard a little girl crying. He sat in his chair and listened. His heart felt heavy. He knew the sound of a child under too much pressure. He had seen it before in his long career. Talented children pushed too hard by ambitious parents. It rarely ended well. Mr. Patterson thought about what he should do. Should he mind his own business? Should he say something to Michael? He was not sure yet, but he decided to pay attention, to watch and listen, and to help if the opportunity came. Back in the Chen apartment, Emma finally stopped crying. She wiped her eyes and got out of bed. She took her old tablet from under her mattress where she hid it. She put on her headphones, and she watched a video of Vladimir Horowitz playing Chopin. She watched his fingers dance across the keys. She watched his face show the emotion of the music. This was her real piano lesson. This was where she learned what music could be. Not from her father's strict corrections, but from the great masters who played with their whole hearts. Emma watched until her eyes grew heavy. Then she hid the tablet again and went to sleep. Tomorrow she would go back to the studio. Tomorrow she would pretend to struggle again. Tomorrow she would make her father frustrated again. But for now, in her dreams, she played piano like the masters. Free and beautiful and perfect. The third week of practice began on a Monday morning that felt like all the others. Michael walked Emma to school as usual. He reminded her that she had to practice extra today to make up for the weekend. Emma nodded and went into her classroom without saying much. She was speaking less and less these days. Emma's teacher was Mrs. Rodriguez. She was a warm woman in her early 50s with curly brown hair and bright scarves she always wore. She taught second grade and loved her students very much. Mrs. Rodriguez had noticed something wrong with Emma for the past 2 weeks. Emma used to be a quiet but alert student. She would raise her hand to answer questions. She would play with the other children at recess. But lately Emma seemed different. She fell asleep during silent reading time. She stared out the window during lessons. Dark circles had appeared under her eyes. During math class that Monday, Mrs. Rodriguez saw Emma's head drop forward. The little girl had fallen asleep right at her desk. Mrs. Rodriguez walked over quietly and gently touched Emma's shoulder. Emma jerked awake, looking scared. "I am sorry, Mrs. Rodriguez," Emma whispered. "I am sorry." "It is okay, sweetheart," Mrs. Rodriguez said softly. "But are you feeling all right? Are you sleeping well at night?" Emma nodded quickly. Too quickly. Mrs. Rodriguez knew the child was not telling the truth. At recess, Mrs. Rodriguez watched Emma sit alone on a bench instead of playing. The other children were running and laughing, but Emma just sat there looking tired. Mrs. Rodriguez made a decision. She would call Emma's father and ask for a meeting. That afternoon, when Michael came to pick up Emma, Mrs. Rodriguez asked if he could stay for a few minutes to talk. Michael looked annoyed. He had a student scheduled at the studio, but he agreed. They sat in small chairs in the classroom while Emma waited outside in the hallway. Mrs. Rodriguez chose her words carefully. "Mr. Chen," she began, "I am worried about Emma. She seems very tired lately. She is falling asleep in class. She is not playing with the other children. Is everything okay at home? Michael felt his face get hot. He did not like anyone questioning how he raised his daughter. Everything is fine, he said stiffly. Emma is practicing piano for an important performance. It requires discipline and hard work. Perhaps she is not used to real effort. Mrs. Rodriguez kept her voice gentle. I understand that music is important. But Emma is only 7 years old. Children her age need rest. They need time to play. I am concerned that she might be under too much pressure. Michael stood up quickly. The small chair scraped against the floor. With respect, Mrs. Rodriguez, I know what is best for my daughter. I'm teaching her the value of dedication. This is how children learn to achieve great things. My methods may seem strict, but they work. Mrs. Rodriguez stood up too. She could see that Michael was getting defensive, but she had to try one more time. Mr. Chen, please think about what I am saying. Emma is a wonderful child, but I have been a teacher for 26 years. When I see a child this exhausted, this withdrawn, it worries me. Perhaps you could reduce the practice time just a little. Let her have some balance. Michael shook his head. The performance is in 3 weeks. We cannot stop now. Thank you for your concern, Mrs. Rodriguez, but I know what I am doing. He walked out of the classroom and took Emma's hand. They walked to the studio in silence. Michael was angry. He felt like everyone was doubting him. His students left him. His wife left him. Now Emma's teacher was criticizing his parenting. Why did no one understand that he was trying to do something good? Emma could feel her father's anger in the way he held her hand. She wished she could make everything better. She wished she could just play the piece perfectly and make her father happy. But she was trapped in the lie she had created. At the studio, practice was harder than usual. Michael pushed Emma for 4 hours instead of 3. He made her play the same difficult section over and over. His voice got louder when she made mistakes. No, wrong again. How many times must I show you? Your hand position is terrible. Start from the beginning! Emma's fingers hurt. Her back hurt from sitting so long. Her eyes burned from tiredness. But she kept playing. She kept making small mistakes. She kept pretending she could not quite get it right. By 7 o'clock in the evening, they finally stopped. Emma's hands were shaking. They went home and Michael made a quick dinner. Emma could barely eat. She went to bed right after dinner, even though it was still early. Michael sat on his couch and thought about Mrs. Rodriguez's words. A tiny voice in his head wondered if he was pushing too hard. But he silenced that voice. He had to see this through. The talent show was his chance to prove himself. Emma would be fine. Children were resilient. What Michael did not know was that Emma did not go straight to sleep. She waited until she heard her father's breathing become slow and steady from the couch. Then she got up very quietly. She took her tablet from its hiding place. She went to the bathroom and locked the door. Emma sat on the bathroom floor with her headphones on. She watched videos of her favorite pianists. She watched them play Chopin, the same piece her father was trying to teach her. But when these pianists played, it was magical. It was not about correct finger position and strict rules. It was about telling a story with music. It was about feeling. Emma watched for an hour, letting the music fill her heart. This was how she survived. These secret moments where piano was beautiful again, where it was not about her father's anger or his disappointment, where it was just music. Finally, she went back to bed. She fell asleep quickly, exhausted in every way. The next day was Tuesday. Emma had a friend at school named Sophie. Sophie was a cheerful girl with red hair and freckles. She talked a lot and laughed loudly. She had been Emma's friend since kindergarten. Sophie had noticed that Emma seemed sad lately. At lunch, Sophie sat next to Emma and tried to cheer her up. Want to play on the swings after we eat? Sophie asked. We can see who can swing the highest. Emma shook her head. I am too tired, Sophie. I am sorry. Sophie looked at her friend with worried eyes. Emma, you are always tired now. Are you sick? Should you see a doctor? I am not sick, Emma said quietly. I just have to practice piano a lot. Why? Sophie asked. I take piano lessons too, but I only practice 30 minutes a day. Emma did not know how to explain. How could she tell Sophie about the talent show? About her father's expectations, about the secret she was keeping? After lunch, the children had free time. Some went outside. Some went to the library. Emma told her teacher she wanted to go to the music room to practice. Mrs. Rodriguez looked concerned but said yes. Sophie decided to follow Emma. She was worried about her friend. She wanted to understand what was wrong. Emma walked down the empty hallway to the music room. The school had one small room with an old piano for music class. Emma had a key because her father had asked the principal for permission for Emma to practice there sometimes. Emma opened the door and went inside. She did not see Sophie slip in behind her and hide behind a tall bookshelf in the corner. Emma sat at the piano. She looked at the keys for a long moment. Then she began to play, but she did not play the Chopin piece her father was teaching her. She played something else, something harder, something more beautiful. It was Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, third movement. The music was fast and passionate and incredibly difficult. Emma's small fingers flew across the keys. Her whole body moved with the music. Her face showed emotion that Sophie had never seen before. Emma looked alive, really alive, for the first time in weeks. Sophie stood frozen behind the bookshelf. Her mouth hung open in shock. She could not believe what she was hearing. Emma played like the famous pianists on television. Emma played like a professional. Emma played like magic. The music ended. Emma sat still for a moment, her eyes closed. Then she heard a sound, a gasp from the corner. Emma spun around on the piano bench. She saw Sophie standing there, her hands over her mouth. "Sophie," Emma said. Her face went pale. "What are you doing here?" Sophie came out from behind the bookshelf. She walked toward Emma slowly. "Emma," Sophie whispered, "how did you do that? How did you play like that?" Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Please do not tell anyone." "Please, Sophie." "You cannot tell." Sophie sat down on the floor next to the piano bench. She looked up at her friend. "I do not understand. You play so beautifully. Why is it a secret?" Emma started crying. All the stress and tiredness and sadness came pouring out. Between sobs, she told Sophie everything. She told her about teaching herself piano on the tablet. She told her about hiding her skill from her father. She told her about the talent show and the pressure and the threats about her birthday party. Sophie listened to it all. When Emma finished, Sophie took her friend's hand. "Emma, you have to tell your father the truth. He does not know how good you are. If he knew, maybe he would not be so mean." Emma shook her head hard. "No, you do not understand. If he knows the truth, everything will be worse. He will expect me to be perfect all the time. He will push me even harder. Right now, when he criticizes me, I can tell myself he does not know what I can really do. But if he knows and I still cannot make him happy, then I will have nothing left." Sophie did not fully understand, but she could see that Emma truly believed this. She squeezed her friend's hand. "Okay, I will not tell." "But Emma, this is not good. You are so tired. You are so sad. Something has to change." Emma wiped her eyes. "Only 3 more weeks until the talent show. Then it will be over. I just have to survive 3 more weeks." The girls sat together in the quiet music room. Outside, they could hear other children playing and laughing. But in here, there was only sadness and secrets. For the next week, things got worse. Michael became more frustrated with Emma's slow progress. He added more practice time. He took away her free time on weekends. He stopped being gentle even in small ways. Emma became more and more exhausted. She stopped smiling completely. She stopped talking except to answer direct questions. At school, she fell asleep almost every day. At home, she moved like a ghost. Sophie watched her friend with growing worry. She wanted to tell an adult, but she had promised Emma she would keep the secret. Sophie felt torn. What was the right thing to do? At home in the evenings, Mr. Patterson continued to hear everything through the walls. He heard Michael's angry voice. He heard Emma's quiet crying. He heard the piano being played over and over, the same sections repeated endlessly. Mr. Patterson's heart hurt for the little girl. He remembered his own childhood, studying piano under a strict teacher. He remembered the pressure and the fear, but he also remembered his mother, who had protected him and made sure he still loved music despite the difficulty. Emma had no one to protect her. Her father was the source of the pressure. Mr. Patterson wondered if he should interfere, but what right did he have? He was just a neighbor. This was a family matter. Then one night, Mr. Patterson heard something that made him decide to act. It was late, around 10 o'clock. Mr. Patterson was reading in his chair when he heard crying. Not just any crying, but deep, painful sobbing. Emma was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Mr. Patterson got up and walked to his door. He opened it and looked out into the hallway. The sound was coming from the Chen apartment. He could also hear Michael's voice, frustrated and tired. "Emma, go to bed. Stop crying. You are being dramatic. It is just piano practice. Why are you acting like this?" Emma's sobbing continued. She tried to talk through the tears. "Papa, I'm so tired, please. Can I have just one day to rest? Just one day?" "No," Michael said. "We cannot waste time. The show is in 2 weeks. If you had been practicing properly, we would not be in this situation. Now go to bed. We will practice longer tomorrow to make up for tonight." Mr. Patterson heard a door close. Emma's crying became muffled. Michael's footsteps moved toward the living room. Mr. Patterson stood in his doorway for a long time. He made his decision. Tomorrow he would knock on the Chen's door. He would offer to help. He had to do something before the situation broke that little girl completely. The next morning, Mr. Patterson waited until he heard Michael and Emma leave for school. Then he went about his day, planning what he would say. That afternoon he watched through his door's peephole until he saw Michael and Emma return home. He waited a few more minutes. Then he took a deep breath and knocked on their door. Michael opened it. He looked surprised to see his elderly neighbor standing there. "Mr. Patterson," Michael said. "Is something wrong?" Mr. Patterson smiled gently. "No, nothing wrong. I hope you will forgive me for bothering you. I could not help but overhear that your daughter is learning piano for a performance." Michael's expression became guarded. "Yes, she is performing in 2 weeks. I wanted to offer my help," Mr. Patterson said. "You see, I used to be a concert pianist. I taught piano for many years before I retired. I would be happy to give your daughter some free lessons. Perhaps a fresh perspective would help her progress." Michael was quiet for a moment. His pride wanted to refuse. But he was desperate. Emma was still not playing well enough. Maybe this old man could help where he had failed. "That is very generous," Michael said slowly. "Are you sure? You would not charge anything?" "No charge at all," Mr. Patterson said. "I live right next door. It would be easy. And I miss teaching. It would be a pleasure." Michael thought about it. Having someone else work with Emma might be good. It would take some pressure off him. And if she failed, he could blame this old man's methods instead of his own. "All right," Michael agreed. "When would you like to start?" "How about tomorrow after school?" Mr. Patterson suggested. "Bring her to my apartment. I have a good piano." They agreed on a time. Mr. Patterson went back to his apartment. He sat down heavily in his chair. He had taken the first step. Now he needed to figure out what to do next. What Mr. Patterson did not know was that Emma had been standing in the hallway behind her father listening. When she heard that a new teacher was coming, her heart filled with fear. Another person to disappoint, another person to fool, another person who would expect things from her. Emma went to her room and lay on her bed. She stared at the ceiling. Only 2 more weeks until the talent show. She just had to survive 2 more weeks. Then maybe her life could go back to normal. Maybe her father would leave her alone. Maybe she could just be a regular little girl again. But deep in her heart, Emma knew the truth. Nothing would ever be normal again. The lie she had created was growing too big. Soon it would collapse, and when it did, everything would break. The next afternoon, Michael brought Emma to Mr. Patterson's apartment. Emma held her father's hand tightly. She felt nervous about meeting this new teacher. Her stomach hurt the way it always did when she was worried. Mr. Patterson opened the door with a warm smile. He was wearing comfortable old clothes and slippers. His apartment smelled like books and tea. "Welcome, welcome," he said kindly. "Please come in." Emma stepped inside and looked around. The apartment was bigger than theirs. The walls were covered with photographs. Emma saw pictures of Mr. Patterson when he was younger, sitting at pianos on big stages. There were photos of him with other people who looked important. In some pictures, he was shaking hands with people while holding flowers, but what caught Emma's attention was the piano. It sat near the window and it was beautiful. The wood was dark and shiny. The keys looked perfect, like they had been cared for very lovingly. This was not like the old worn piano at her father's studio. This was a grand piano, though not a very big one. It was the kind of piano Emma had only seen in videos. "That is a beautiful piano," Emma said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken with any real feeling in days. Mr. Patterson's smile grew bigger. "Thank you. It has been with me for 40 years. Would you like to try it?" Emma looked at her father. Michael nodded. Go ahead. Show Mr. Patterson what you have learned. Emma walked slowly to the piano. She sat on the bench. Her feet did not quite reach the floor. She put her small hands on the keys. The keys felt smooth and perfect under her fingers. Play what you have been practicing with your father, Mr. Patterson said gently. Emma nodded. She began to play the Chopin Revolutionary Etude, but she played it the way she had been playing for her father. Slowly, with mistakes, with hesitation. She made her fingers stumble in places where they should flow. Michael stood with his arms crossed, watching. He looked embarrassed. This was exactly how Emma had been playing for him, and it was not good enough. Mr. Patterson listened carefully. But he was not just listening to the music. He was watching Emma's hands. He was watching her posture. He was watching the tension in her small shoulders. And he was seeing something that Michael could not see. This child was playing badly on purpose. Mr. Patterson had taught piano for 50 years. He had seen hundreds of students. He knew the difference between a child who was struggling and a child who was hiding. Emma's finger positions were too good. Her understanding of the music was too mature. The mistakes she made were too deliberate. When Emma finished, Michael shook his head. You see? This is how she has been playing. I do not know what to do anymore. Mr. Patterson nodded slowly. I see. Mr. Chen, would you mind if I work with Emma alone? Sometimes children perform better without parents watching. It is very common. Michael looked uncertain. I suppose that would be all right. When should I come back? Give us 1 hour, Mr. Patterson said. I think that will be enough for today, Michael agreed. He told Emma to behave and to listen carefully to Mr. Patterson. Then he left. The apartment became very quiet. Emma sat at the piano looking down at her hands. She felt afraid. She did not know what this old man wanted from her. Mr. Patterson pulled a chair close to the piano. He sat down with a small groan. His old knees did not work as well as they used to. Emma, he said softly, I am going to ask you a very important question, and I need you to tell me the truth. Can you do that? Emma looked up at him. His eyes were kind, but they were also very wise. She felt like he could see right through her. I will try, she whispered. Good, Mr. Patterson said. Here is my question. Can you really play that piece? I mean, really play it the way it is meant to be played? Emma's heart began to beat very fast. She did not know what to say. If she told the truth, what would happen? Would he tell her father? Would everything become worse? Mr. Patterson saw her fear. He reached out and gently patted her hand. I am not going to tell your father anything you do not want me to tell him, he said. I promise. But I need to know the truth so I can help you properly. Because right now, I can see that you are very unhappy, and I think I know why. Tears started to form in Emma's eyes. She tried to blink them away, but they came anyway. I can play it, she whispered. I learned it a long time ago. From your father? Mr. Patterson asked. Emma shook her head. No, I taught myself. I watch videos on my tablet at night. I have been teaching myself piano since I was 4 years old. Mr. Patterson was quiet for a moment. Then he asked another question. Can you show me? Can you play the Chopin piece the way you really can? Emma hesitated. Part of her wanted to keep hiding, but another part of her was so tired of pretending, so tired of holding back, and this old man seemed kind. He seemed safe. Okay, Emma said quietly. She turned back to the piano. She put her hands on the keys. She took a deep breath, and then she played. The music that came from the piano was completely different from what she had played before. Her fingers moved with incredible speed and precision. The notes were clear and strong. The emotion of the piece, the revolutionary spirit that Chopin had written into it, came alive in the small apartment. Mr. Patterson sat very still. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened slightly. In all his years of teaching, he had never heard a 7-year-old child play like this. This was not just good. This was extraordinary. This was the kind of talent that came along once in a generation. When Emma finished, the last notes hung in the air. Emma kept her hands on the keys. She was breathing hard like she had been running. Playing this way, holding nothing back, had released something inside her. Mr. Patterson had tears in his eyes. My dear child, he said, his voice shaking slightly. That was remarkable. Truly remarkable. How many pieces can you play like this? Emma thought about it. Maybe 50 or 60? I do not count them. I just learn pieces I like. And your father does not know? Mr. Patterson asked. Emma shook her head. He cannot know. Why not? Mr. Patterson asked gently. Why do you hide this gift? Emma's words came out in a rush. Because if he knows, he will expect me to be perfect all the time. He will push me even harder than he does now. Right now, when he gets angry, I can tell myself that he does not know what I can really do. But if he knows the truth and I still cannot make him happy, then there will be no hope. Piano will not be mine anymore. It will only be his way to prove something. I will lose the only thing I love. Mr. Patterson listened to every word. His heart broke for this little girl who carried such a heavy burden. Emma, he said carefully, what you can do is very special. You have a gift that most people never have, but keeping this secret is hurting you. I can see how tired you are, how sad. This cannot continue. Emma started crying harder now. I know, but I do not know what to do. If I tell him, everything will change. If I do not tell him, I have to keep pretending. Either way, I lose, Mr. Patterson thought carefully. He was facing a difficult situation. This child needed help, but he had to be careful. If he told Michael the truth without Emma's permission, he would betray her trust. But if he did nothing, he would be allowing her suffering to continue. Emma, he said slowly, I have an idea, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Emma wiped her eyes. What is your idea? In 3 days, your father will bring you here again for another lesson. On that day, I would like you to show him the truth. I would like you to play for him the way you really can play. Emma's eyes went wide with fear. No, I cannot. You do not understand what will happen. Mr. Patterson held up his hand. Listen to me. I will be here with you. I will make sure you are safe. And Emma, I truly believe that keeping the secret is worse than telling the truth. Your father needs to see who you really are. He needs to understand what he is doing to you. Right now he thinks he is helping you. He does not know he is hurting you. But what if it makes everything worse? Emma asked. Her voice was small and frightened. It might, Mr. Patterson said honestly. I cannot promise that everything will be easy. But I can promise that I will not let him hurt you. And I can promise that living with this secret is already destroying you. You are 7 years old. You should be playing with friends and laughing and being happy. Instead, you are exhausted and sad. This has to stop. Emma was quiet for a long time. She thought about what Mr. Patterson was saying. Part of her knew he was right. The secret was too heavy. She could not carry it anymore. But she was so afraid of what would happen when the truth came out. Finally, she asked, what if he hates me? What if he is angry that I lied to him? Mr. Patterson moved his chair closer. He looked into Emma's eyes. Your father loves you, Emma, I am sure of that. He is making mistakes, big mistakes, but he loves you. When he sees the truth, he will have to face those mistakes. That will be hard for him. He might be angry at first. He might be confused. But eventually, I believe he will understand, and things will get better. Do you really think so? Emma asked. I do, Mr. Patterson said. And Emma, I will help you. I will be there. You will not face this alone. Emma thought about her options. She could keep pretending for 2 more weeks until the talent show. But Mr. Patterson was right. She was so tired, so very tired. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. Okay, Emma said quietly. I will do it. In 3 days, I will show my father the truth. Mr. Patterson smiled and patted her hand. You are very brave. Now let us talk about something else. Tell me, what other pieces do you know? What do you love to play? For the next 30 minutes, Emma talked about music with Mr. Patterson. She told him about the pianists she watched on her tablet. She told him about the pieces that made her cry and the pieces that made her feel strong. She talked about how music felt like colors in her mind, how different composers painted with different emotions. Mr. Patterson listened with wonder. This child did not just have technical skill. She had a deep, mature understanding of music. She felt it in her soul. This was not something that could be taught. This was a true gift. When Michael came back to pick up Emma, Mr. Patterson met him at the door. How did it go? Michael asked. Very interesting, Mr. Patterson said carefully. Emma has potential. I would like to work with her again. Can you bring her back in 3 days? Of course, Michael said. Did she play better for you? We will see progress, Mr. Patterson said. It was not a lie, but it was not the whole truth either. I want to do something special in 3 days. A progress assessment, if you will. I would like you to stay and watch. Michael looked surprised. Usually you said parents should not watch. This time will be different, Mr. Patterson said. Trust me. I think you will want to see this, Michael agreed, though he looked confused. He took Emma's hand and they left. As they walked home, Michael asked Emma how the lesson went. Emma said it was good. She did not say anything else. She was thinking about what would happen in 3 days. She was terrified, but also something else. She was maybe a little bit hopeful. That night, Emma lay in bed and thought about Mr. Patterson. He seemed to really understand. He seemed to really care about her, not about proving something or impressing people. Just about her. Maybe he was right. Maybe telling the truth was the only way forward. For the next 3 days, Emma continued her regular practice with her father. She still pretended to struggle, but now she knew it would end soon. That made it a little bit easier to endure. Michael noticed that Emma seemed slightly less sad. He thought maybe Mr. Patterson's teaching was helping somehow. He felt hopeful that things were improving. Sophie noticed at school that Emma looked different too. Not happy exactly, but less hopeless. At lunch, Emma told Sophie what was going to happen. "I am going to tell my father the truth," Emma said, "in 3 days. I am so scared, Sophie." Sophie hugged her friend. "I will be thinking about you. It will be okay. It has to be." Emma hoped Sophie was right. Mr. Patterson spent the 3 days preparing. He thought carefully about how to handle the situation. He knew that when Michael saw the truth, the man would go through many emotions. Shock, confusion, anger, shame. Mr. Patterson had to be ready to guide them through it. On the night before the big day, Mr. Patterson could not sleep well. He worried he was doing the right thing. He worried he might make things worse for Emma. But he also knew that something had to change. That poor child could not continue as she was. Emma also could not sleep that night. She lay in her bed staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow her secret would be revealed. Tomorrow her father would see who she really was. She did not know if she was ready. But it was too late to go back now. Tomorrow everything would change. The day arrived. Emma woke up early with her stomach in knots. She could not eat breakfast. Michael thought she was just nervous about the lesson, which was true, but not in the way he imagined. At school, Emma could not concentrate on anything. Mrs. Rodriguez asked her twice if she was feeling well. Emma just nodded and tried to focus, but her mind was somewhere else. It was thinking about the afternoon, about what would happen, about her father's face when he saw the truth. Sophie sat with Emma at lunch. She held her friend's hand under the table. "You can do this," Sophie whispered. "Just remember, you are not doing anything wrong. You are just showing who you really are." Emma nodded, but she still felt sick with fear. The school day finally ended. Michael picked Emma up as usual. They walked to Mr. Patterson's apartment together. Michael talked about how the talent show was only 10 days away now. He said he hoped Mr. Patterson's lessons were helping. He said that maybe, just maybe, Emma would be ready in time. Emma walked beside him silently. Each step felt heavy, like her shoes were made of stone. They arrived at Mr. Patterson's door. Michael knocked. Mr. Patterson opened it with a gentle smile, but his eyes were serious. He knew what was about to happen would change everything. Come in, Mr. Patterson said. "Please, Mr. Chen, have a seat here by the window. Emma, you know where the piano is." Michael sat down in the chair Mr. Patterson indicated. He looked curious about why he was being asked to stay today. Emma walked slowly to the piano. Her legs felt shaky. Mr. Patterson stood beside the piano. He looked at Emma with encouraging eyes. He gave her a small nod. It was time. "Mr. Chen," Mr. Patterson began, "I asked you to be here today because I need to show you something very important about your daughter." Michael leaned forward in his chair. "What is it? Has she improved?" "She has not improved," Mr. Patterson said carefully, "because she did not need to improve. She already knew how to play." Michael looked confused. "What do you mean? She has been struggling with this piece for weeks." "No," Mr. Patterson said gently. "She has been pretending to struggle." "Emma, would you like to explain? Or shall I?" Emma looked at her father. His face showed complete confusion. She took a deep breath. Her voice came out very quietly. "Papa, I already know how to play piano. I taught myself. I have been able to play for 3 years. Michael stared at her. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked like someone had spoken to him in a foreign language. "That is impossible," he finally said. "You are 7 years old. No one teaches themselves piano at age 4. "Emma did," Mr. Patterson said, "and not just simple pieces. Emma, why don't you show your father what you can do?" Emma turned to face the piano. Her hands were shaking. She put them on the keys and they steadied. Music always steadied her. She began to play. But she did not play the Chopin Revolutionary Etude that her father had been teaching her. Instead, she played something much harder. She played Liszt's La Campanella. The music filled the apartment. It was fast, complex, and breathtakingly difficult. Emma's small hands moved across the keys with perfect precision. Her fingers jumped and flew. The melody was like bells ringing, beautiful and clear and pure. Michael sat frozen in his chair. His eyes were huge. His mouth hung open. He looked like he was seeing a ghost. When Emma finished La Campanella, she immediately began another piece, Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor. This piece was dark and powerful. Emma played it with deep emotion, her whole body moving with the music. The sad, beautiful notes seemed to express everything she had been feeling for weeks. All the fear, all the exhaustion, all the loneliness. Michael's hands gripped the arms of his chair. His face had gone pale. Emma finished the Rachmaninoff and finally played the Chopin Revolutionary Etude. But now she played it the way it was meant to be played, with fire and passion and perfect technical skill. It was the sound of revolution, of breaking free, of refusing to be held down. When the last note faded, the apartment was completely silent. Emma kept her hands on the keys. She did not turn around. She could not look at her father's face. Mr. Patterson spoke quietly. "Emma has taught herself to play over 50 pieces of this difficulty. She watches videos online and learns by observation and practice. She has been doing this since she was 4 years old. She has an extraordinary gift, Mr. Chen. Perhaps one of the greatest natural talents I have ever witnessed in my 50 years of teaching." Michael still had not moved. He sat in the chair, staring at his daughter's back. His mind was trying to process what he had just seen and heard. It did not make sense. How had he not known? How had he lived with this child for 7 years and never seen this? Finally, Michael spoke. His voice sounded strange, hollow. "How long?" he asked. "How long have you been hiding this from me?" Emma slowly turned around on the piano bench. Tears were running down her face. 3 years, she whispered. "Since I was 4. Why?" Michael's voice was getting louder. "Why would you hide something like this? Why would you let me teach you things you already knew? Why would you let me think you were struggling?" Emma flinched at his raised voice. She looked down at her hands. "I was afraid," she said quietly. "Afraid? Afraid of what?" Michael stood up from his chair. He was breathing hard. His face was red. Mr. Patterson stepped forward. "Mr. Chen, please stay calm. This is difficult for everyone, but we need to talk about this rationally." Michael ignored him. He was staring at Emma with a mixture of emotions on his face. Shock, confusion, hurt, and anger all swirled together. "You made me look like a fool," Michael said. His voice was shaking. "You pretended you could not play. You let me criticize you. You let me push you and get frustrated with you. And all this time you could already play better than most of my adult students. Why, Emma? Why would you do this to me?" Emma was crying harder now. "Because I knew if you found out you would take it away from me. You would make it about you. About proving you are a good teacher, about impressing people. Piano is mine. It is the only thing that is mine, and I wanted to keep it." Michael stepped back like he had been hit. "Take it away from you. I am your father. I have been trying to help you." "No," Emma cried out. "You have been trying to help yourself. You do not care if I am happy. You only care if I make you look good. That is why you wanted me to play at the talent show. Not for me, for you." Michael opened his mouth, but no words came out. Emma's words had hit something true inside him, something he did not want to face. "Is that what you think of me?" Michael finally asked. His voice was quieter now, but there was deep hurt in it. That I only care about myself? Emma wiped her face with her hands. I think you are sad and angry about your life. I think you feel like a failure because students leave and because Mama left. And I think you want to use me to feel better about yourself. But I am not a tool to make you feel better, Papa. I am a person. I am your daughter. The words hung in the air. Michael stood very still. His face had changed from red to white. He looked at Emma like he was seeing her for the first time. Mr. Patterson spoke gently. Mr. Chen, I know this is a shock, but your daughter has spoken a difficult truth. She is carrying a burden that no 7-year-old should carry. She has been sacrificing her own happiness to protect herself from pressure she believed she could not survive. Michael slowly sat back down in the chair. He put his face in his hands. For a long moment, no one spoke. When Michael finally looked up, his eyes were red. I did not know, he said. His voice was broken. I did not know I was hurting you so much. I thought I was helping. I thought I was teaching you discipline and dedication. I thought I was being a good father. You are not a bad father, Emma said quietly. But you have been a bad teacher. You made piano feel like punishment. You made it feel like I could never be good enough. And I already felt like I was not good enough because Mama left. I did not need you to make me feel worse. Michael looked at his daughter. Really looked at her. He saw the dark circles under her eyes. He saw how thin she had become. He saw the sadness that had settled into her like a heavy coat. And he realized what he had done. I am so sorry, Michael whispered. Emma, I am so sorry. Emma got up from the piano bench. She walked slowly toward her father. Michael opened his arms and Emma fell into them. They both cried. Michael held his daughter and felt the weight of his mistakes crushing him. Mr. Patterson quietly left them alone and went to his kitchen. He made tea and gave them privacy. The crying continued for several minutes. Finally, the tears slowed. Michael pulled back and looked at his daughter's face. He wiped her cheeks gently with his thumbs. Can you forgive me? He asked. I do not know yet, Emma said honestly. But I want to, Michael nodded. That was fair? That was more than fair. Will you tell me the truth now? Michael asked. About everything? About how you learned? About what you want? Emma nodded. And she told him. She told him about finding the tablet. About watching videos late at night. About teaching herself to read music. About learning piece after piece because she loved it. Because it made her feel free, because it was beautiful. Michael listened to every word. He felt amazement and shame in equal measure. Amazement at what his daughter had accomplished alone. Shame that she had felt the need to hide it from him. When Emma finished talking, Mr. Patterson came back with tea for Michael and juice for Emma. They all sat quietly for a moment. What happens now? Michael finally asked. He looked at Mr. Patterson. That depends on what Emma wants, Mr. Patterson said. Emma, do you still want to perform at the talent show? Emma thought about it. I do not want to play the Chopin piece. I do not want to play anything Papa chose for me. But I think I would like to play something I choose, something that means something to me. What would you choose? Michael asked quietly. Emma thought carefully. I want to play something I made up myself. I have been trying to write my own music. It is not very good yet, but it is mine. It tells my story. Michael looked surprised. You compose music too? Emma nodded shyly. A little bit. I have written 3 short pieces. May I hear one? Michael asked. His voice was gentle now, not demanding. Asking, not telling. Emma looked at Mr. Patterson. He nodded encouragingly. Emma went back to the piano. She played a short piece, maybe 2 minutes long. It was simple compared to the complex work she had played earlier, but it was beautiful in its simplicity. The melody was sad at first, like a child crying alone. Then it became stronger, more hopeful. It ended with soft, gentle notes that sounded like peace. When she finished, Michael had tears in his eyes again. That was you, he said. That was your story. Emma nodded. Michael stood up. He walked to the piano and knelt down beside the bench so he was at Emma's eye level. Emma, I have made terrible mistakes. I have hurt you when I thought I was helping you. I do not know if I can fix what I have broken. But I want to try. Will you let me try? Emma looked at her father. She saw something in his face she had not seen before. She saw humility. She saw real understanding. She saw love without conditions attached to it. "Yes," Emma said. "I will let you try." Michael pulled her into another hug. Over Emma's shoulder, he looked at Mr. Patterson. "Thank you," Michael said to the old man. "Thank you for caring enough to do this." Mr. Patterson nodded. "Emma is a special child. She deserves to be happy. She deserves to have her gifts celebrated, not used as a weapon." Michael nodded. He understood now. He finally understood. They stayed in Mr. Patterson's apartment for another hour. They talked about what would happen next. Mr. Patterson offered to continue teaching Emma, but only if Emma wanted it. Emma said yes, she would like that. But she wanted her father to be just her father, not her teacher. Michael agreed. It hurt his pride a little, but he agreed. His daughter's well-being was more important than his ego. As they prepared to leave, Mr. Patterson stopped them at the door. "Mr. Chen, may I offer one more piece of advice?" Michael nodded. "Take a few days away from piano entirely. Both of you. Let Emma rest. Let her be a child. Go to a park. See a movie. Do something fun together. Remember how to just be father and daughter, not teacher and student." Michael looked at Emma. "Would you like that?" Emma's face showed the first real smile in weeks. "Yes, Papa, I would like that very much." They left Mr. Patterson's apartment. As they walked home, Michael held Emma's hand. But this time it felt different. It felt like the hand of a father who was learning to see his daughter as she really was. Michael did not sleep that night. He lay on his couch in the dark and thought about everything that had happened. He thought about the past 3 years since Linda left. He thought about how he had become bitter and desperate. He thought about how he had used Emma to try to fix his own broken pride. The worst part was that Emma had been right. He had wanted her to succeed at the talent show not for her sake, but for his. He had wanted to prove to the world that he was still a good teacher, that he still had value. He had used his own daughter as a tool for his redemption. Michael got up and walked quietly to Emma's room. He opened the door a crack and looked at her sleeping. She looked so small in her bed, clutching her old stuffed rabbit. She was just a little girl, just 7 years old, and he had put the weight of his failures on her shoulders. He closed the door quietly and went back to the couch. He made a decision. Things had to change, not just with piano but with everything. He had to become the father Emma deserved, not the father he had been. The next morning, Michael woke Emma gently. She looked surprised. Usually, he pulled her blankets off and told her to get up quickly because they had a schedule to keep. "Good morning, Emma," he said softly. "I made you breakfast, pancakes." Emma sat up in bed. "Pancakes? But it is a school day. We never have time for pancakes on school days." "We have time today," Michael said. "Come eat while they are warm." They ate breakfast together. Michael asked Emma about her friends at school. He asked about her favorite subjects. He realized with shame that he had not asked her these normal questions in months. He had been so focused on piano that he had stopped seeing the rest of her life. Emma answered carefully at first, like she was not sure this new version of her father was real. But slowly she began to talk more. She told him about Sophie, her best friend. She told him about the books she was reading. She told him about the art project she was working on in class. Michael listened to every word. He realized how much he had missed. He had been living with his daughter but not really knowing her. That evening, Michael made another decision. He called the community center and withdrew Emma from the talent show. The woman on the phone sounded disappointed, but Michael was firm. Emma would not be performing. When he told Emma, she looked relieved and surprised at the same time. "Really?" she asked. "I do not have to do it?" "Really," Michael said. "You never had to do it, Emma. I was wrong to force you. If you want to perform someday, it should be because you want to, not because I need you to." Emma hugged her father tightly. "Thank you, Papa." Over the next few days, things were different in the Chen household. Michael still went to his studio to teach his few remaining students, but he stopped making Emma practice. He stopped pushing her. He stopped making piano the center of everything. Instead, they did normal things. They went to the park and Emma played on the swings. They went to the library and Emma picked out books she wanted to read. They watched a movie together and ate popcorn. These were simple things that normal families did, but they had not done them in years. Emma began to look different. The dark circles under her eyes started to fade. She smiled more. She laughed sometimes. She started to look like a child again instead of a tired little adult. 1 week after the truth had been revealed, Emma asked her father something. "Papa, can I go to Mr. Patterson's apartment? Not for a lesson. Just to visit?" Michael felt a small flash of old jealousy, but he pushed it down. "Of course. Would you like me to come with you?" Emma thought about it. "No, I think I would like to go alone. Is that okay?" Michael nodded. "That is fine. Be back before dinner." Emma went next door and knocked on Mr. Patterson's door. The old man opened it with a warm smile. "Emma, what a lovely surprise. Come in, come in." Emma went inside. She stood in the middle of the living room looking at the beautiful piano by the window. "Mr. Patterson, may I play?" she asked. "Not for a lesson. Just to play?" "Of course," he said. "The piano is always available for you." Emma sat at the piano. She thought about what she wanted to play. Then she began. She played Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. She played Chopin and Rachmaninoff and Debussy. She played for 2 hours, moving from piece to piece, letting the music flow through her. Mr. Patterson sat in his chair and listened. He did not interrupt. He did not correct. He just let her play, and he saw something beautiful. Emma was playing with pure joy. No fear, no pressure, no pretending. Just a child making beautiful music because she loved it. When Emma finally stopped, her face was glowing. "That was wonderful," she said. "I had forgotten how good it feels to just play." Mr. Patterson smiled. "That is what music should be, Emma. Always. It should be joy, not burden." They talked for a while about music and life. Mr. Patterson told Emma stories about his years as a concert pianist. Emma listened with wide eyes. She asked questions about performing, about traveling, about what it felt like to play for thousands of people. "It was magical," Mr. Patterson said. "But you know what I loved most? The small moments. Playing for one person who really listened. Playing for children who had never heard classical music before. Playing just for myself alone because the music needed to come out." Emma nodded. She understood exactly what he meant. Before Emma left, Mr. Patterson said something important. "Emma, you have a gift. A real gift. Someday, when you are ready, you may want to share it with the world. Or you may want to keep it just for yourself. Both choices are valid. But promise me one thing. Promise me you will never let anyone, not even your father, take the joy of music away from you again." "I promise," Emma said. At school, things were better too. Mrs. Rodriguez noticed the change in Emma immediately. The little girl was engaged in class again. She played with friends at recess. She looked healthy and happy. One day, Mrs. Rodriguez pulled Michael aside after school. "Mr. Chen, I do not know what changed, but thank you. Emma seems like herself again." Michael felt shame and gratitude at the same time. "I made mistakes," he said quietly. "I am trying to do better." Mrs. Rodriguez nodded with understanding. "That is all any parent can do. Keep trying." Sophie was thrilled to have her friend back. The two girls played together every day at recess. Emma told Sophie everything that had happened. Sophie hugged her friend and said she was proud of her for being brave enough to tell the truth. 2 weeks after the revelation, Mr. Patterson officially became Emma's piano teacher. But these lessons were nothing like the ones with her father had been. Mr. Patterson taught Emma about music theory and history. He taught her about different composers and styles. He helped her refine her technique, but gently, with patience and encouragement. Most importantly, he taught her about composition. Emma's desire to write her own music fascinated him. He showed her how to structure pieces, how to develop melodies, how to create harmony. Emma soaked up every lesson like a sponge. Emma worked on her original composition, the one she had played for her father. With Mr. Patterson's guidance, she made it longer and more complex. She added layers of meaning to it. The piece became a story of pain and healing, of hiding and being found, of losing joy and finding it again. Michael listened through the apartment walls as Emma practiced at Mr. Patterson's piano. Sometimes the music made him cry. He could hear his daughter's soul in those notes. He could hear everything she had been through. And he could hear hope in the final measures. One evening, Emma came home from Mr. Patterson's apartment and found her father sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread out in front of him. "Papa, what are you doing?" she asked. Michael looked up.
"I am looking for a new job." Emma's eyes went wide.
"You are closing your studio?" Michael nodded. "I have been thinking about it for a while. The truth is, Emma, I have not been happy as a piano teacher for a long time. I became bitter. I put too much pressure on my students. I made music feel like a chore instead of a joy. That is not good teaching. What will you do instead? Emma asked. There is a music store downtown that needs a manager, Michael said. It is a steady job with steady pay. I can help people find instruments and music. I can still be around music without the pressure of teaching. I think it might be good for me. Good for us. Emma came and sat next to her father. Will you be happy? Michael smiled a little sadly. I do not know yet. But I think I will be happier than I have been. And Emma, this means we will not struggle with money as much. I can buy you new shoes when you need them. We can have treats sometimes. We can live a little easier. Emma put her small hand on her father's arm. I do not need treats, Papa. I just need you to be okay. I want you to be happy too. Michael felt tears in his eyes again. He seemed to cry a lot these days. But these tears felt different from the bitter tears he had cried before. These tears felt like washing something away. We will figure it out together, Michael said. Both of us. We will help each other. Michael took the job at the music store. He closed his struggling studio. The first few weeks were hard. His pride hurt. He felt like he had failed. But slowly he began to enjoy the work. He helped young musicians pick out their first instruments. He ordered sheet music for music teachers. He learned about guitars and drums and violins. The work was simpler, but it was honest. And it did not consume his soul the way desperate teaching had. Emma continued her lessons with Mr. Patterson. She flourished under his gentle teaching. Her technical skills grew even stronger. Her compositions became more sophisticated. But most importantly, she remained joyful. Piano was still hers, still her special place of freedom. 1 month after everything changed, Emma finished her composition. She played it for Mr. Patterson first. When she finished, the old man had tears streaming down his face. Emma, that is extraordinary. You have created something truly beautiful, something meaningful. Emma smiled. I want to play it for Papa. Do you think he would want to hear it? I know he would, Mr. Patterson said. That evening, Emma asked her father to come to Mr. Patterson's apartment. Michael was confused but agreed. When they arrived, Mr. Patterson had arranged chairs for a small audience. Michael sat down, still uncertain what was happening. Emma sat at the piano. She looked at her father. Papa, I wrote this piece about us, about everything that happened. I want you to hear it, Emma began to play. The piece started with dark, heavy notes. They represented pain and pressure and loneliness. Michael listened and heard his own harsh voice in those notes. He heard Emma's tears. He heard the weight of impossible expectations. Then the music changed. There was a moment of shattering, of breaking. The melody fractured. But from the broken pieces, something new began to emerge. The notes became softer, searching. They found each other and began to build something different. Something gentler. The piece moved through phases. Confusion, understanding, forgiveness. The melody line split into two voices that had been fighting, but slowly learned to harmonize. They did not always agree, but they learned to make something beautiful together. The composition ended with a simple melody. It was peaceful but not perfectly resolved. It suggested a journey that was still happening, a healing that was still in progress, but it was full of hope. When the last note faded, the room was silent. Michael sat with his hands over his face. His shoulders shook with crying. Emma got up from the piano. She went to her father and put her small arms around him. Michael held his daughter and wept. These were tears of grief for what had been lost, but also tears of gratitude for what had been found. I am sorry, Michael kept saying. I am so sorry. I know, Papa, Emma said. I forgive you, but you have to forgive yourself too. Those words from his 7-year-old daughter cracked something open in Michael's heart. All the bitterness and failure and shame he had been carrying began to drain away. It would take time to fully heal, but the process had begun. Mr. Patterson watched from his chair. He had seen many things in his long life, but this moment felt sacred. A father and daughter finding their way back to each other, a child teaching an adult how to love without conditions, a family being rebuilt on honesty instead of lies. Over the following months, life settled into a new rhythm. Michael worked at the music store and found satisfaction in his work. Emma continued to grow as both a pianist and a composer. Mr. Patterson became like a grandfather to Emma, teaching her and encouraging her and believing in her. Michael and Emma's relationship continued to heal. They had family dinners every night where they talked about their days. They went on walks together on weekends. They laughed more. They were gentler with each other. Piano was still part of Emma's life, but it no longer defined it. She played because she loved it, not because she had to. She performed occasionally at small recitals Mr. Patterson organized, playing pieces she chose herself. She was building a collection of original compositions that told stories of growth and change and hope. Sometimes Michael listened to Emma practice and felt sadness about what he had almost destroyed. But more often he felt grateful for the second chance he had been given. He had learned that being a good father meant letting his daughter be who she was, not who he needed her to be. One evening, 6 months after the truth had been revealed, Emma and Michael sat together on their couch. Emma was reading a book and Michael was looking through a catalog for the music store. Emma suddenly looked up. "Papa, are you happy now?"